The most confusing airlines are those that have so much potential and have such a wow factor, yet disappoint so significantly in other areas. Nowhere is this more common than in the Gulf, where state-owned airlines have fortunes in startup capital, and of course, where leaders are very competitive and want to put their countries on the map by having impressive airlines. Some succeed, like Qatar Airways and Emirates, and then some get busy trying to play catch-up with their neighbors, which is perhaps most exemplified by Oman Air. Oman Air launched with a bang, introducing a business class seat that rivaled many first class seats less than 2 decades ago. Then, with the introduction of their 787, they installed the Apex suite, an extremely expensive and space inefficient seat that was actually intended for first class. They even poached Qatar Airways cabin crew trainer. Everything they did was with the goal of making themselves Qatar Airways, but boutique. A year ago, I reviewed their fascinating and outdated A330s. But now, for the first time since pre-COVID, it's time to see the best of this little airline. Oman Air is still incredible in the grand scheme of things, but as you're about to see, their constantly shifting strategy leaves an overall impression of an airline that can't make up its mind. Let's jump into it. Good morning from Muscat, Oman and Muscat Airport, my favorite airport in the Middle East and one of the best in the world in my opinion. In many parts, they play soothing spa music, which seems like a genius way of keeping passengers calm. The Oman Air Lounge is a peaceful oasis in an already peaceful terminal and is just so beautiful. I have food poisoning, which seems like my new thing every time I'm flying from the Middle East to Southeast Asia, so I'm grateful the lounge has such stunning bathrooms. Oman Air makes me sentimental, and whatever their current state, I always think fondly of the first time I flew with them. So if you don't mind, I want to quickly tell you the story of the first time I flew Oman Air and how I fell in love. When Oscar and I were in Peru back in October 2016, as 19-year-olds, there popped up a pretty irresistible fare from Cairo to Bangkok for about $600 round trip in Oman Air business class. So fast forward about 5 months and it's time to fly from Cairo to Muscat to Bangkok, back then on a 737-900 and a 787-8. It was my first time ever flying any Middle Eastern airline, and from the second I got on board and heard the boarding music and drank a lemon mint and got a choice between a hot or cold scented towel, that's when I knew this is where it's at. Oman is also one of mine and Oscar's favorite countries in the world to visit. The people are so incredibly friendly, the food is amazing. So I always connect Oman Air with the country Oman, of course, and every time I board and I hear that boarding music, I think back at 19-year-old, inexperienced, wide-eyed, curious Dan, who was just so enthralled and so amazed that a flight experience could be this good. Today, we're flying from Muscat to Bangkok. Why am I going to Thailand? Well, besides it being one of my favorite countries on this planet and my passport being half filled with just Thai stamps, it's also very convenient for reviews. Our 787-9 taking us over there is full in economy, largely with Russians judging by the crowds by the gate, and about half full in business class. Oman Air has undoubtedly done some cost cutting since their prime in the mid-2010s, so stay tuned to see how that impacts the in-flight experience. We have the pleasure of flying probably the best quote-unquote off-the-shelf business class seats in the world, the Apex suite. This seat takes up so much more space than any other business class seat on the market, which is why it hasn't been so popular with airlines other than Oman Air, Gulf Air, Korean Air, and Japan Airlines. This 787-9 configuration, the one without first class, features 30 business class seats in a 222 layout. Oh no, 222 you might think? Most airlines have 1-2-1 in business. While the Apex suite is different since all seats offer direct aisle access through a little corridor between seats. Here, every seat is great, but the window seats truly shine, especially for solo travelers. While the mini cabin is an incredible place to sit, I opt for 14 Alpha and 14 Charlie, but I'm later moved to 14 Kilo and 14 Juliet for some reason. Let's hop on board and check out the cabin. Welcome to the Oman Air Dreamliner. This cabin is so impressive and immediately makes you think, okay, this airline is serious. The center consists of 4 rows of seats that are perfectly aligned and great for people traveling together. Here in the main cabin, there are also 4 rows along the windows that are slightly staggered to allow those in the window seats to exit via this small path. I love Oman Air's cabin colors, and as I settle in with a rose-scented hot towel, a lemon mint, and enjoy their boarding music, I am in Nonstop Dan Nirvana. This seat is interesting in the sense that it doesn't have tons of storage since it's forward-facing. You have 3 small compartments in front of you on the side and a long thin one closer to you on the side. Of course, there is a lot of storage under the footrest, and you can even store a carry-on bag down here. We have a multitude of detailed seat controls on one side and our remote, privacy divider controls, and charging on the other. Such a thoughtfully designed seat with utmost privacy, especially when you raise the center partition, because then it's bye-bye to your travel companion. They cannot see you and you cannot see them. The aisle seat, on the other hand, sadly lacks privacy, especially on Oman Air compared to, for example, the same seat on Japan Airlines. One way to notice when an airline doesn't quite know what it wants is by the behavior of the crew. On all my Oman Air flights in the past couple of years, I've noticed a drastic shift in the crew since pre-pandemic. Today's crew doesn't address me by name or as sir, which is a strong contrast to the past. You'll hear several examples throughout the flight where the crew doesn't seem invested in their jobs. You know what never disappoints though? Arabic coffee with dates. Oman Air's pre-flight service is among the best in the world, which sets high expectations for the flight ahead. But who are we kidding? This channel is basically just a showcase of how I always have high expectations in premium cabins. Goodbye Oman, Thailand, here we come. This trip to Thailand was booked extremely last second, and I usually don't have time to plan out a whole trip just a few days in advance. Thankfully, I used Magic to help make it easier, and no, not the Harry Potter kind. Today's sponsor, Magic, is a free personal AI travel tool that helps you find deals, book accommodation, and plan your trip so that you can just enjoy it to the max. Magic completely customizes your itinerary based on your preferences. Simply tell Magic where you're going, for how long, if you have any specific interests or dietary preferences. You can even input your dates to make it account for national holidays and other special events that you can be part of. A few seconds later, Magic will generate a personalized travel itinerary just for you. Like I said at the start, one of the best things about Magic is that it's completely free, so there is literally no reason not to try it out. Not only is it free, but every time you book something like a hotel through Magic, you earn a Magic Elixir, which can be used to get up to 40% off things like future hotel stays. Give Magic a try today or bookmark it for later at magictravel.ai, or of course at the link at the top of the description. Now, let's get back to Oman Air. After departure, the crew comes by stone-faced saying, "What's your order?" "Oh, we ordered a special meal actually. Do you know what they catered?" "No, you don't want the pasta from the menu?" "No, we can't because it contains cheese. Can you please check for us?" 5 minutes later, "Okay, we have rice with paneer." Stay tuned to see what they actually serve as the meal begins. here is the breathtakingly beautiful Oman Air menu. The food selection sounds impressive, and there is dine on demand so you can eat when you want, but you need to inform the crew if you want to eat later, because I've noticed that they don't actually ask when you want to eat on Oman Air. So the standard becomes just eating immediately. The drink list strangely doesn't contain any wines, and I'm not offered a wine list, so I don't know what to make of that. At least the meal begins very quickly with my drink, a Diet Coke, and some potato chips that taste like Doritos. Maybe not the fanciest, but hey, they are super delicious, so no complaints. The table setup is 10 out of 10, which sadly my supposedly vegetarian oriental appetizer is not. I don't think I need to comment on this. I pressed the crew bell to order the salad off the menu instead, and a full 5 minutes later, someone finally comes to my seat and says, "Oh, you didn't like it? But you're the one who ordered a special meal." Okay, blame me for the airline's bad catering. I finally get the salad, which isn't much better, and the fact that this is an item off the business class menu but uses canned mushrooms and the cheapest kind of olive is pretty concerning. How is this considered a real appetizer? Next up, the main course, a Thai green curry with rice. I have no idea what the crew who checked our food was talking about, but hey, this tasted okay and thankfully didn't contain paneer. The actual portion of curry is about 3 spoonfuls though. For dessert, I choose the fruit plate off the menu. Again, something doesn't add up when you compare the lavish pre-departure experience to the clearly cheap, uninspired meal. Usually in business class, when clearing your table, a good crew will ask if you enjoyed your meal, if you want something else, if you'd like a drink, etc. This crew, without a word, clears the table and leaves. I'm starting to think, is this comparable to staying in the nicest suite at a 2-star hotel? Like the room, or in this case the seat, is big and comfy, but all the rest just feels very budget? And note that my experience with this type of service has been pretty consistent on my last half dozen Oman Air flights. Besides the incredible seat, there's another example that illustrates how the original idea contrasts with the current state of the airline, namely the lavatories. These are amazing. They feature a foot pedal so you don't have to touch the trash door, incredibly expensive amouage toiletries, and a bidet. There are also toothbrushes and shaving kits in here, which are handy because no amenity kits are offered. You can request a small bag with an eye mask and socks, and honestly, not having an amenity kit isn't the end of the world. Emirates doesn't provide it either most of the time, but just 6 years ago, Oman Air gave you this incredible kit that was so luxurious. If all you care about is the seat, don't hesitate to fly Oman Air. On an overnight flight, they would be my top choice, and you'll see why coming up next. You think the Apex suite has shined until you enter bed mode and are reminded, wow, this really is the best business class bed in the world, especially with Oman Air's comfortable bedding that now includes a mattress pad. What makes this seat so special? Well, for starters, you don't have to squeeze your feet in anywhere, so you have unlimited room to move around. The window seats are also completely private, so again, the seat saves the experience. There are no individual air vents, but the cabin is kept pretty cold throughout the flight, so it's not a problem. On a 6-hour flight like this, it's tempting to sleep, and most other passengers are, but I never understand how that works when you're landing at 6 p.m. How will you fall asleep in a few hours? Anyway, I opt to work since my self-paid reviews ain't gonna fund themselves. On today's flight, I'm preparing the latest episode of On Air, my #1 ranked podcast for aviation fans and travel enthusiasts. You can check that out in the card now. Of course, another question is, what can you do besides sleep or work? Of course, check out the entertainment. Oman Air has a good selection, you definitely won't get disappointed, but comparing it to Emirates and Etihad, there are noticeably fewer options. In terms of Wi-Fi, it isn't available most of this flight given that Oman Air doesn't have service over India, but even so, the connection is slow and extremely expensive. We're talking about $40 for a few hundred megabytes of data. As we approached Thailand, the crew passed out some hot towels without a goodbye or any additional food, snacks, or service. There weren't any snacks set up in the galley during the flight that I could see either, nor were there any snacks on the menu, so let's just say I'm excited to get off and have some Thai food. We touched down and I just think, wow, Oman Air is a fascinating case study in changing strategies, where the cabin reflects a time where the airline strived for greatness, but the soft product, perhaps besides the pre-departure service and theoretical dine on demand, is really no better than you'd get on any European airline, let alone East and Southeast Asian or Middle Eastern airlines nowadays. However, I'm very happy with the value I got, since I paid about $800 for a one-way ticket in business class all the way to Chiang Mai. An incredible value with such a good seat, and at that price, of course, I wouldn't hesitate to fly Oman Air again, if nothing else, just to listen to the boarding music. Although I can do that for free on YouTube, so maybe that's not the smartest thing. If you've watched this far, it seems like you enjoy these type of videos, so if you haven't already, why not consider hitting that subscribe button to be informed next time I post a new video. You can also check out some more content on the screen now. This is recommended specially for you, and until I see you all in the next video, fly safe.